We are going live now.
Namaskar, everybody. Before we start, if you're coming in, as usual, you take a couple of minutes just to get the things in place. Those who are coming in, as usual, my request is normal. Please share, please like, and also please comment so that we know you are here and we can speak to you. Although it might not be face to face, but we can comment or we can give some feedback on the comment box. So we'll give about 2-3 minutes before we start. So those who are here with us, please remember, share, like and comment. Comment first, start commenting, so at least we know who are we. For us to get excited, to get us motivated to speak with more energy, we need some feedbacks from you. So those of you are here, please do encourage us. I like that. We have already got 4 in the first 5 seconds, so that is good. Wow. So Abhishek Tiwari, hey, namaskar ji, namaskar. So you see, that's a conversation. Shashi Chandra Desai, namaste, namaskar ji, namaskar. Awesome, thank you for your support. So if you type in the comment box, we know who you are, and then we can, start a conversation before we officially start. So looking for you, we have already got 2 people here who have commented. So we are waiting for the rest of you to say something before we start. Give us another 2 more minutes. Let more people to come in and come on, guys. Say something in the chat box. I'm nervous. We've got 10 of you there.
You too will get excited when you see you.
I'm very nervous when people don't say something in the comment. I want some excitement. I need some motivation. I'm very shy, I'm very shy, so I need some inspiration. Dr. Gopiji, namaskar.
Yes, doctor. Impatient.
Yes.
This message is impatient.
Thank you, Ji. Thank you so much. Thank you for your continuous support. You have been there week in, week out for us. Dr. Gopi, thank you, Ji. All the way from Mauritius. Thank you. So I think we will start. Namachivaya Valga, Nathan Tan Valga, Ime Polugum Yenjil, Ningadan Tal Valga, Hariom, Jai Sri Krishna, Jai Sri Ram, Jai Shakti.
Yes.
Namaskar, Namaste, Namaskaram, Vanakkam. Welcome to the Why of Hinduism. As usual on a Saturday in Malaysian time, or at least Malaysian time at 9 p.m. and UK time now is 1 noon. If I'm not right, so welcome all of you. And today we have Ida Bagus, namaskar. Om Swastiastu, Om Swastiastu. From Indonesia, dear friend from Indonesia, Suga, Namaskaram, Malaysia, thank you. Karen, Hariom, Hariom, thank you.
Karen, Sister Karen.
So I have said mine. Now I will pass to my co-host to say something before we start. She's always very excited when the Shakti comes. When the Shiva comes, she's not very excited. But Shakti, her energy level go another 3%, or maybe 10%.
I am excited when the Shiva is over the other side, but it's just half. So when Shakti is there, we get into this full excitement, okay? Right. We had a guest last week. And
also from UK.
And also from UK, our Pandit Satish Ji, and he spoke about caste. And today we have another wonderful person, a very a very strong Hindu, waiting to talk to us, and I'm more than happy to be greeting her here because it's a she. It's a she, that's why. Okay, welcome Dr. Melissa Kapoor from UK. I give you the pleasure of introducing her.
Okay, thank you. Because the last time she introduced you, so this time I had the opportunity, because at our virtual conference, she is the one who introduced you. So Dr. Melissa Kapoor, viewers, has a doctorate from PhD from University of Oxford in statistics. I was talking to a friend. When you're college, university, people don't like this statistic thing. But imagine getting a PhD, oh my God, applied to medical imaging. She now has an award-winning company developing novel technologies to help reduce incidence of dementia. Yeah. Since first stepping into Indian soil, Dr. Melissa Kapoor has felt a deep connection to India, like all of us. Yes. I miss the smell of Bharat. Yeah. It's been more than a year. Now married to an Indian and having become a Hindu, she has been pursuing her learning of ancient Vedic knowledge. Dr. Melissa has great interest in understanding various aspects related to Bharat and Hinduism and expresses her view through her YouTube channel. English.
Bahan ke dil se.
Bahan ke dil se. Yeah.
That's a YouTube channel.
You pronounce so well, huh?
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, viewers, thank you. Yeah, Dr. Melissa Kapoor, thank you for taking your thank you for taking your time to hear. Please say something about yourself. Yes, this is now all yours. Over to you, ma'am.
And thank you so much for inviting me. Such a warm swagat as well. I really feel really excited to be doing this session.
Same here.
So yes, I'll tell you a bit about my story. Why I became a Hindu.
What inspired you?
Exactly, yes. So I think it's probably worth me starting with what was I like before I became a Hindu. So as you can see, I'm, a European person. In our genes, it is purely sort of the UK, Scandinavia, and East European, as far back, down the generations as you can go. And I was brought up as a Christian. Like most people in the UK, although it was a very mild Christianity, to be honest, my parents are much more focused on raising us to be very hardworking, studious people. That was the focus in life, was to do well in school, do well in your career, do well in sports. And so that's what I did. I did very well in school, I did very well in university, I did very well in sports. So I was very accomplished, very confident, and I felt like I was quite happy.
We can see from your credentials you have been doing very well academically.
Yeah.
Going to Oxford and doing statistics, PhD statistics. Oh my God, that needs a different level of brain. Not in lifetime I will ever achieve that. Yeah, this lifetime.
You can do it next time because you're not reaching Mosha.
Continue, I don't know about different level of brain, but maybe a high level of hard-working nature. I would definitely give you that one. But the thing is, now when I look back on it, I can see, yes, I was accomplished and happy, I felt, but actually life was a bit dull, a bit grey, a bit lacking in in sensory stimulation, like colours and music, because I was going into my office in Oxford to do my statistics PhD, and I was just coding on my computer all day, and then I'd go home, watch some TV maybe. The next day I'd do the same thing and maybe do a bit of sport on the side as well. So life was a bit dull, a bit grey. I was also somebody who had very moderate views. I kind of just went along with the flow, went along with the popular narratives. I was certainly not political or had any controversial views at all. So I think that was partly due, the upbringing we had from my parents is kind of just, stay clean, just keep with the normal opinions out there in society.
Ma'am, can I ask you a question any man shouldn't ask a woman?
Sorry, say again?
Can I ask you a question any man shouldn't ask a woman?
As a woman?
Yeah. What? Can I ask you a question any man shouldn't ask a woman? Yeah.
Oh,
he wants you to give him permission to ask the question.
I wanted to know, how young were you when your life was like grey? How young were you?
Yeah, so probably I would say during my PhD. So we're talking when I was 23 till 26.
That's supposed to be an exciting time of the life, right? And you had grey areas.
Yes, I mean, like I said, at the time I didn't really realize it because I was kind of doing the same as everyone else. But it's only now looking back, having discovered Hinduism, that I realized that it was grey. Okay. And then the other thing I noticed looking back now is that back then I was kind of in the mindset of almost like rejecting my femininity, because in the West there has been such an oppression of women for centuries that it's kind of, the pendulum has swung the other way now. And so women are either completely rejecting their femininity and going into, science and technology and trying to almost, be with the men, or they go the other way, which is completely ultra feminine, like to the extreme where it's very superficial. So that's kind of how it is in the West. And I was more of the kind of person who was rejecting my femininity at that time.
Oh, okay.
So that was me up until the point then of meeting my husband. And at that time, I knew nothing about Hinduism. I barely even knew the word, because at school, we weren't taught about Hinduism. In our religious education classes, we were taught about Buddhism, Sikhism, Islam, Christianity, Judaism, but Hinduism never came up. So I literally didn't really even know what the word was. So that shows you just how ignorant I was about Hinduism. This is only about 6-7 years ago. So meeting my husband, I then realized that there is this fascinating almost like an other world out there that I didn't even realize existed. A world of religion, a world of culture, a world of ancient history. And I was completely fascinated. And we got engaged, and pretty much the week after, we went to visit Bharat. So my first trip to India.
Wow.
And I just loved the energy from the mitti. As you say, the aroma in the air.
Yes.
And Surya Dev beating down so strongly. And the color of the buildings, the color of the saris, the color of the food, the music, the dance, with family, with neighbors, with friends. And I suddenly felt so alive. And, in all the Bollywood films, I would call them more the traditional Hindi films from the 60s or 70s. They all have all these songs using the word zindagi, life, or jivan. That's because in Bharat, in Hinduism, life is so celebrated. And coming from that sort of dull, grey, sitting in front of my computer, just pounding away at the keyboard all day, this just like opened my eyes like a kid in a sweet shop. I just couldn't believe all of the colour, all of the music. So a few months later, I had my very beautiful Vedic Vivar Sanskar, and it was conducted so authentically in the Vedic tradition. Wow. And my in-laws, they did a very good job in choosing which organization should conduct the ceremony. And there was an individual who was translating the shlokas into English and interpreting them so we could understand what every shloka meant. So that was really beautiful.
So Dr. Melissa, can I stop you there for a while? Sorry. Were your parents there, Dr. Melissa?
Yes, my mum was. She said it was the most beautiful wedding she'd ever been to, and she could see how that ceremony was setting us up for a life of happiness and love. How could anything other than happiness and love come out of such a beautiful ceremony? She really appreciated it. Yes.
Okay. All right.
So then after my Vedic Vivar Sanskar, I guess I was quite inquisitive about Hinduism, about taking part in the festivals, watching the Ramayana on TV series, reading Amar Chichakata comics to just learn.
Okay. All right.
Then, with some time, I got to learn a bit about Indian history, Indian culture, but particularly about Hindu Dharma and about the Shastras. And I guess the next step for me was then watching lectures on Vedanta, so Gyan Yoga.
Okay.
And 1 minute here. Your Shastras that you were studying, was language a barrier? What language were you reading all this from?
Okay, so at this point, the Shastras, it was actually not even reading, it was just watching it on TV, the TV series, just getting the real basics. And to be honest, even now, I'm reading the Shastras in English. And quite often, you can see the translations are not very good in many places. So I'm learning Hindi now, but really, Sanskrit, that's the only way to truly appreciate all of the Shastras. And my husband's learning Sanskrit at the moment. Maybe
we are also learning Sanskrit. Both of us are also learning Sanskrit. Class number 10 now.
Yes.
It's a must. It really is a must.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
so learning about Vedanta, getting to know about the Shastras, I now felt alive in a sort of a deeper way. So before it was almost, more superficial, the color, the music, but now it was alive in a deeper sense, in a sense of wisdom.
Not much.
And sort of composure, calm and peace. So I felt really that I was experiencing such benefits from learning about the Shastras, learning about Vedanta. And the major benefit was really to my mental strength. So things like in Hinduism and in India, there is such a sense of big expanses of time. And that's so different to when you're brought up in the West, where it feels like the world only existed for the last 2,000 years, and that everything was done in the West. That's how it feels.
Yes.
And so now coming across an ancient civilization, learning about, time spans of 20,000 years ago, and, thinking in those sorts of scales, and also thinking about not just global matters, but universal matters, because Hindu Dharma, the Shastras, they talk about infinite space and multiverses. And so I came to realize that I'm such a small person in this big cosmos. Of this very, very ancient existence. And that helps me to put things into perspective on a daily basis. If I get a nasty email at work or whatever, it taught me how to put things into perspective. As a scientist, these ideas of massive time scales, massive geographical spaces, universal spaces, it was really it made lots of sense to me. And I found a lot of peace in this, because firstly, on a very sort of material level, a lot of the science, modern day science, has corroborated what is in the Shastras when it comes to the distance between the Earth and the Sun, or that there is a bulge around the equator of the Earth. How could they know this and be writing this thousands of years ago, and now it's found to be the truth? So I found a lot of peace in that. I also found a lot of peace in, before my PhD in statistics, I did a physics degree, and I actually really hated it, because I felt so frustrated about concepts like quantum physics that just made no sense to me. It just sounded so so strange almost. But now with this Vedantic sort of this single consciousness concept, suddenly again things felt much more peaceful to me. Things made sense. And finally, because Sanatana Dharma, it empowers you to always be questioning. So I think of it as like, science plus plus. It's corroborating modern day science, but it's more than that, because it's empowering you to discover the truth for yourself. And that truth is something beyond what modern day science can detect or validate at the moment.
Can I also say, you being, Dr. Melissa, if you don't mind me, you being a scientist, you have a very scientific brain, and it's not about a mere belief. It is about justifying that statement or whatever being made. It must be supported by evidence and stuff like that. It's not like hearsay, believe, somebody say so and so, like you rightfully say, 2,000 years ago.
Exactly.
But everybody is talking about, the West are the ones who created everything, everything was invented by the West. Not by, that's how it was portrayed.
So please continue from there. What happened?
So then other ways in which I felt my mental strength improved was that from Vedanta, from Bhagavad Gita, I came to see how to detach myself better from my ego. Obviously, I'm still learning every day, but at the end of the day, I know how to sort of switch off or to find peace in any conflicts that I face on a daily basis, because I understand this is my ego getting worked up. I'm purer than that, essentially.
What are some of those learnings from our scripture or of our text, if you can remember, that allow you to help you to detach yourself from a certain thing? Example, what or anything? But before that, I like to also read from Dr. Gopi.
Yeah.
He says he reads his Bhagavad Gita in French translation. Yeah, Dr. Gopi, if I'm not saying, you're from Mauritius. So
he's reading it in French.
He's reading it in French. So coming back to you, so what was anything that from our text or scriptures that help you, allow you to do, that allow you that detachment? Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say it's just a bigger concept. It's not really a single shloka for me. It's the bigger concept of I'm not this body. This body is just a vehicle. I'm purer than that. I am part of Brahman, connected with all other beings, including animals and plants. And then I guess the Bhagavad Gita, which it's a very accessible text in terms of it gives you quite concretely like lessons, solutions as to how to live your life.
Yes, Bhagavad Gita is a book of management. It manages
exactly.
Everything. It manages your life, it manages your work, everything else in your family. Yeah. Right. And you had a tutor, like Vedanta, you had a tutor, or you read it all by yourself, or how?
No, this is just watching YouTube videos and things.
Wow.
No, I still got much more to learn. But it's a good place to start. I am very thankful for YouTube and these places and digital media now, that we do have all of this information at our fingertips. If we know the right places to go looking for it, though, is the issue. Because there's a lot of nonsense out there as well.
Yes.
So after you becoming, you have sort of got into this thing, and you have seen the change in you, how this the scriptures it has affected you in your day-to-day life. Have you been able to impress upon other people, convince other people about the richness of the Hinduism, the books, our scriptures? Have you been able to do that to others?
Sure. So at the moment, my focus actually of my work has been more talking to Hindus themselves and trying to almost convert Hindus back into Hinduism.
Yeah, that's the word. That's my line.
That's the golden phrase.
I always say this.
Golden phrase.
You need to convert the Hindus to Hinduism because they are missing such richness,
the greatness.
I'm talking about it, I'm getting goosebumps.
The values,
if you're
the
missing
greatness.
it, oh my God, please don't lose this. You're gifted, So I will always say this. So we are together as far as this is concerned.
Yes.
Converting Hindus to Hinduism.
Hindus, yes.
Hinduism.
I mean, we are not missionaries as such. Yeah, we are not the missionaries as such. Yeah, good.
Because I feel that until Hindus are strong in their faith, it's not going to be able to spread at mass outside to other communities, people who were Christians, who are looking for an alternative. Until Hindus are strong in themselves and in their faith, those ex-Christians aren't going to come flocking to Hinduism. So I'll be touching on about this actually quite a lot later, that as a Westerner, having experienced this transformation myself, the most attractive things about Hindu Dharma is actually the strength of the faith itself. It's not necessarily things like, non-violence, whole world, one family, that sort of wishy-washy niceness. It's nice, but that's not what attracts people to a way of thinking. People are attracted by strength, by conviction, by clarity. And that's what the Shastras bring. So we need to be helping Hindus to realize that clarity, that strength, that conviction for themselves. And then Hindu Dharma will become like a magnet for people from other communities. Yeah.
Yeah, so our Dr. Gopi has also written the same thing that you have just mentioned. Now in English, mostly converting Hindus to Hinduism. That's what Swami Vivekananda said. He's repeating what you just said. Yes, you are doing a great job.
Yeah,
bringing Hindus to Hinduism. Yeah, okay, go ahead, ma'am.
So then another way in which I felt such benefit to becoming Hindu was, as I mentioned earlier, before becoming Hindu, that I kind of rejected my femininity. But through Hindu Dharma, I sort of rediscovered my femininity. And it was partly due to being inspired by all the brave Hindu women. So Ma Sita, Draupadi Ji from the Shastras, but then also, you know, historical figures from like the last 600-700 years. So Jhansi Ki Rani, Rani Durgavati, Rani Padmini. Such inspiring, brave women who fought battles, who led whole armies into battle, who preferred or committed johar or suicide rather than being captured and having the indignity of that. Such brave, inspirational women. There are so many of them. Whereas again, in the West, there aren't that many strong women to kind of look up to as role models through history.
And another area that they always misinterpret is the sati, where they push the women when the husbands die. They were supposed to be thrown into the fire, or they're supposed to jump into the fire. There is no such thing. The women themselves had taken courage to stay away from those people who wanted to use them when the husbands died. They don't have protections. They rather not be a sex slave to someone else. We are not mentioning who. They rather die with the husband, so that's courage. You asked me to jump into the fire, would I do it? I'm not courageous enough. So the women then were so courageous, so brave. That's what Hinduism is telling us.
Absolutely.
That's what Hindu women have always been there. See, when you talk about women, I get inspired.
And also, Dr. Melissa, I think in Hinduism, we are probably the only religion, for the lack of a better word. Hinduism is not religion, it's more than religion, but to simplify those, the only one who give women a position of respect. And we have Hindu goddesses, we give them position in our Sanatana Dharma.
Yes,
absolutely. And then so just coming back to this point about Shakti, the Devis, again, you can see why these brave Hindus emerge, because there is, as you say, such a tradition of worshipping Shakti, and it's Shakti in all her glory, in all her forms. Because in the West, historically, to suppress women, they made women very meek and mild. And then, as I said earlier, that's led to now women either rejecting their femininity completely and almost wanting to be like having no gender or being man-like, or they become ultra feminine. But actually, that's a very imbalanced human being. A balanced human being can be calm, she can be excitable, she can be very caring, she can be fierce. It depends on the situation, right? So you can't just say, I'm just like this and that's all my character is. That's very repressive. We're each, men and women, with a full spectrum of emotions and characteristics. And you can see this no better than the different forms of Shakti at Navratri. And I really enjoy Navratri every evening, looking up, is it male Shailaputri tonight, the caring, motherly figure and form of Shakti, or is it Ma Kali tonight, the fierce warrioress form? And so for me, I find that really empowering as a woman to be worshipping all forms and characteristics of women. Yes. So just coming back to your point about using the word religion. So I've come to this conclusion, it's taken me almost like years to get to this, that when we're talking in English, I feel we have to use the word religion. Yeah. Because if we don't, to describe Hinduism, obviously, because if we don't, we're then at the whim of the Abrahamic faiths. Yes. Saying, well, you're not even a religion.
You don't, yes,
so
correct.
We can't, you know, when it comes to law, under law, having your religion, having it insulted, being discriminated against based on your religion, these are crimes. And if we're saying we're not a religion, or we try to explain that we're more than a religion or whatever, we're kind of removing that protective ability that we have to actually, you know, file suits of discrimination, file suits of hate and that sort of thing. And it's just very important in this modern day and age that we have to be at the moment using this word religion, because there is no other word for us in English to be using.
Yes.
As and when in future Hindus have more power, more influence over the world, then we could be having a discussion about what can we be describing Hinduism. But for now, I think we're stuck with the word religion. So that's what we have to be using.
Thank you. Thank you for the clarity. Thank you for the clarity. Yeah, wonderful.
We have to use the word
well
religion.
said. Well said. Yeah. That's an awareness for me. Thank you so much. Only those who are involved, we know, but those for the masses, you are right. There's another no other word to describe us. The best English word is, as a noun, religion. Awesome.
It is. Yeah. And the most damaging is it's a way of life, because a way of life isn't something that you can protect. It's not something, you know, because there are so many ways of life. You know, choosing your profession can influence your way of life. At the same time, you know, joining a very fanatical other religious organization, I won't name anything, but you know, that's definitely a way of life in terms of telling you what you should be wearing, what time of day you should be praying, what you should be eating, what you should be doing with your life, what kind of crimes you should be committing. So, you know, everything is a way of life. So we shouldn't be saying Hinduism is just a way of life. So that's another little tip there.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, I would like to ask you this question. What would you share or tell people who think, the Hindus who are thinking there's nothing in Hinduism, you know, it's only rituals. You know, I go there and do this. I don't even know what was happening. You know, I want to find something else. Yeah, because some people believe without even, I mean, I don't want to give you the answer. I just want to ask you this question. People who think it's greener on the other side.
Sure. So I would say to them that they are the product, sadly, of a lot of propaganda, a lot of false narratives, because actually the Shastras contain so much wisdom and with such clarity. And of course, it is all, you know, belief in and worship of a higher power of Brahman. So when people are saying, well, Hinduism isn't even a proper religion, it's a way of life, what they're trying to say, as you say, that it's just about the rituals, that there's no deeper meaning, when in fact that's the complete opposite for Hindu Dharma. It's everything in your life is, you know, religious, because we haven't used that word. Everything you're doing is religious, because Brahman is in everything, and your conduct in everything that you do, every action you take, every thought you have, it has a cause and effect, because we are part of this single consciousness and at one with Brahman. So in many ways, it's like almost, as you say, it's more than religion. It's like, it's the ultimate religion, because everything
for the entire universe.
Brahman.
Eternal truth. The eternal truth.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. You know,
so,
proceed.
So yes, in all these ways, I felt very strengthened by becoming a Hindu. So, the large time scales, the large geography, the detachment, seeing my ego, being inspired by brave women, and, sort of rediscovering my femininity. So all these benefits that I felt. And so a final, real turning point for me was, and I think actually this is probably the major reason why I was so attracted to Hindu Dharma, is that there is the shlok of, ahimsa paramo dharma, that non-violence is the highest dharma, but that's only half the story. The other, if you finish it off, it is, so too is violence to protect dharma. The Shastras are very clear that our highest responsibility, duty, is to protect dharma, to protect righteousness. Gita was expressed on the battlefield. It's very clear that, non-violence, this idea of Hinduism being all about non-violence, it's a very misgiving.
There is a time where you have to carry the weapon.
Absolutely.
You have to. Yes, you have to.
Absolutely.
You can't be non-violence throughout your life, because you have to save Dharma. If necessary,
needed,
go for it. Face the Dharma.
Yeah. And we look at the Mahabharata, we have the example of the kings themselves disrobing Draupadi ji. If they allowed these different crimes essentially to go uncountered, how autonomic would that be? Because if the kings are disrobing women, then if that is allowed in the royalty, how would that fare for society at large? If that becomes the new societal norm, society would completely disintegrate, deteriorate away. So the Mahabharata war was very much needed to try and, brush away, to actually destroy that adharma, and to give rise to and protect dharma once again. So we all have to take our sides. We all have to do our duty, our karma yoga, to be protecting dharma. And when we see a dharma, we each have to act. We each have to do something about it. We have to speak out, even if it offends that popular narrative, the popular opinions out there. The things that maybe other communities have managed to protect away as, part of their religious belief. If it's really, really adharmic, as Hindus, we need to be speaking out and raising awareness and trying to, do something to stop that adharma happening. Because if we don't, at the moment, these other communities who are working against Hindus, they are very cunning, they are very dangerous, and they are eating away at Hindus. And, in many cases, it's not just, eating away, they're actually committing, in my view, like genocide against Hindus, in cultural genocide, certainly. And then there is actual physical killing as well. And so Hindus, we not only need to be standing up against these adharmic forces for our own survival, but for the good of the whole world, for the good of humanity.
Dharma.
Exactly, and it's our absolute duty to do so. And because of this focus on dharma, I find that's why I resonate with Hanumanji so much. He's my Ishtadev. Because Hanumanji is a real dharmacharya. He's a real dharmacharya, a real follower of righteousness. And he never gives up to try and achieve that righteousness, to find Sita, to bring back the Sanjeevani, to fight in the battles. And he does this often in a very sort of creative way, burning Lanka with his tail, or carrying the whole mountain when he can't work out which is the Sanjeevani plant. So I really resonate with him in this sort of focus on doing what is right, and doing it in a kind of creative, a quite in a very egoless way, in a way that is full of it's not always in a very serious way either, that he sees the humor in different situations. It's kind of lighthearted because he realizes that he is such a bhakt of Bhagwan Ram, that he has this uninterrupted connection with Bhagwan through his devotion. Empowers him to be doing, you know, these things, fighting in battles or whatever it is, without worrying about the consequences, without becoming anxious, because he's got such trust and love in Bhagwan. So for all these reasons, I feel I really resonate with Hanumanji when it comes particularly with the karma yoga that I do, which, as we mentioned earlier, you know, is being English behen on social media and trying to fight for Hindu dharma, and trying to protect Hinduism's survival. And so, you know, in that way, I feel that my karma yoga has really strengthened my bhakti yoga. Every day I go up into our little mandir upstairs, and I sing Hanuman Chalisa, and I do puja arti to Hanumanji.
So you do sing all the chalsas, right?
Yes, so I'm learning. So Hanuman Chalisa, I know there are a few other sort of prayers that I've learned, still needing to learn many more. My pronunciation is very poor, so that's another reason why I'm focusing so much on learning Hindi at the moment. So at least my pronunciation.
What would you like? You see, you are a Westerner. It takes you so much more effort to learn and to pronounce, you know, and whereas some of us, especially the ones from India or the root from Bharat, you know, who have this natural ability to pick up the language faster, and who are not doing this whatever you are doing right now, what would be your message to them?
Yes, so I would firstly say that the you know, Indians, I find them intrinsically very intelligent people, like really intelligent people, apart from when it comes to sometimes, as I say, you know, understanding the Shastras and things like this, they're very easily confused, and I'll get onto that in just a moment. But when it comes to, you know, learning, you know, the sort of intellectual learning that you do in school, of things like learning languages, you're right, they pick them up so quickly. You know, I know many people in Bharat who know like 4 or 5 languages. It's quite incredible. And here in the UK, you know, people struggle with just English. You know, people in India speak better English than people in the UK speak English. So yeah, Indians are intrinsically very intelligent. And, you know, the challenge for them to learn English is no less than the challenge for me to learn Hindi and know more. But you know, they managed to learn English so well, and you know, I'm struggling to learn Hindi so badly, so slowly. I think it's a laziness on Westerners' part, and I guess, you know, in India there is such a sense, unfortunately, of, you know, people aping the West, that unless you speak English, you can't get a good job, or you're not such a worthy person. There's such status attached to speaking English, so people are really, really motivated. Whereas, you know, I feel like I'm really motivated, but I obviously have some block in front of me that is making my a bit more difficult for me to learn Hindi. But ultimately, I do feel the English language in India is doing a lot of damage, because English language, you know, it developed from a Judeo-Christian framework. It sees the world through that civilizational prism. And that's very different from the dharmic Hindu framework. And so it's actually imposing a Judeo-Christian way of thinking on Hindus. And in fact, there's a scientific study that has shown this. It was conducted by a university in the US in Uttar Pradesh, where they compared Hindus who are speaking English only in formal occasions, so in business meetings, for example, with those who speak English all the time. and they found a clear difference in the socio-political views of those two groups, beyond what you could explain by them just reading different newspapers or whatever. You know, obviously the second group would be reading an English paper, the first group might be reading a Hindi paper. Beyond, once you cancel out that effect using statistics, then there was still this residual difference in the socio-political views of these two groups of Hindus. Okay. So I find the English language is very damaging. It's rewiring people's brains to be thinking like Westerners and not as Dharmic Hindus. And obviously, as we know, it's mistranslating and misinterpreting the Shastras. English, as we've just been talking about the word religion, English is sort of, it doesn't have the scope, it doesn't have the depth, it's very deficient in so many ways to be expressing Hindu Dharma. So it's causing a lot of problems. Okay. So
when it comes to other religion, when they go extreme into that, we have to use the word religion now, sometimes when they go so deep into the other religions, they become arrogant, full of ego. My religion is the highest, the biggest, the best in the entire universe. You know, the ego goes up. As they go deeper, the ego goes up, and of course, they become even terrorists. You know, they become extremists. Whereas in our Hinduism, when you go deeper and deeper, you become egoless.
Exactly.
You become a sadhu, you are more, you are able to manage life better, isn't it? What's your take on that?
Absolutely. You know, so this is a really key point that you've just made. Thank you. Because there is this notion, this false notion out there that in Hinduism, you can believe anything and you can still be a Hindu, or that, you know, there are many paths to moksha.
Yes.
Now, the thing is, as you just described, how can, you know, being a Christian and being a Hindu be the same? You can't be both a Hindu and a Christian, because in Hinduism, your ultimate goal is to achieve moksha, to realize you are egoless, to become egoless. To realize that you are Brahman, you are all connected, that everything, this Maya is Brahman, that you are worshipping murtis. You know, these are the best things in Hindu Dharma, and yet in other religions, these are the very worst things, you know. And as you just described, you know, so certainly, you know, worshipping murtis, very bad. You know, the 10 Commandments say, you know, that's, you know, in there saying that's the worst thing you can be doing. You are a complete sinner. You are going to hell and burning in eternity forever for doing this.
Yes.
You're believing that you are Bhagwan or you're Brahman, that Brahman is everywhere and everything, and not just a man sitting in the sky up there looking down on you and casting judgment. Again, that's the worst thing to be thinking. And yes, going out and trying to convert people and strengthening your ego in doing so, because you are doing what you think is the right thing to do, which is to save souls, and you're feeling good about saving souls because that's then making you look better in your God's eyes. You know, these are the best things in these other religions. So they're the complete opposite to what is the best thing in Hindu Dharma. So how can the best of one religion be the same as the worst in the other if they are, you know, all religions are the same? It's not logically possible.
Yes.
So yes, the idea that, you know, all paths lead to moksha, that shloka is there in the Hindu scriptures, but it's referring to the fact that there are many Hindu rishis that can lead you towards realization, that there are many forms of yoga. There's bhakti yoga, jnana yoga, raja yoga, karma yoga. These are the different paths to moksha. It's not the Jesus path. It's not, you know, any other religious path.
Okay.
So yeah, that's not what the shloka is talking about. So yes, very important point. And as I mentioned, this is one of those examples of these sort of false narratives, false notions, just complete lies, essentially, that Hindus have been fed for so long, that they automatically come out with these ideas of all religions are the same. Yes. Whenever you try and talk openly, honestly, truthfully about the other religions, they automatically will come out. I've had this quite often, even on sort of very dharmic channels and discussions with people. Then they'll come back and say, but all religions, are the same. We respect, of course, we respect other religions as long as they're doing dharmic things. Actually, yes, you can believe what you want, but when they are being adharmic, we have to be speaking out against them. It's our duty. And as I mentioned, for us to make the most efficient progress to moksha, it's bhakti yoga, karma yoga, jnana yoga, Raja Yoga. These are the paths to moksha, nothing else.
Yes. Dr. Melissa, do you believe in reincarnation?
Hanji, absolutely. And I feel that's a real...
You know why I'm asking you this question? Because from our books, we know that there were many women Vedic scholars, like Maitreyi, Karki. I think you are the reincarnation of those Vedic scholars. Really, you're so knowledgeable. You're so inspiring.
Let me ask you this question. The next question is: see, being a Westerner, you're being a Hindu, and do you get any kind of a negative from your fellow Westerners? Yeah. I'm sure you know what I'm trying to say. And do you get those kind of things, and how do you manage those things? Yeah.
Sure, very good question. So actually, just going back to the previous question, just very quickly about reincarnation, I would say that I feel that until you believe in reincarnation, I'm not sure that you can truthfully say you are Hindu, because it's so fundamental to, such a fundamental belief to Sanatana Dharma.
Yes.
So to me, when I think about, when would I say that I would almost think, I declare myself a Hindu today, a few years ago, like 5 years ago or so, it was when I truly deep down believed in reincarnation, in moksha, these concepts. Yes, so just put that one down. And then
just to add on, that's a very interesting, sorry, just to add on, there's a lot of questions can be answered due to reincarnation.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, there's a lot of questions I've asked to my friends who are following a certain path. I will ask them, if somebody is born and dies after 5 days, 6 days, where do they go to?
See, our Gopi,
they say they go to heaven. Okay, fine. Why did God leave me up to 70, 80, and along the line I'll be a sinner? I'm sure living in this material world, I will sin, and I will then go to hell and burn in it till eternity. I mean, why? I mean, where? Usually there is no answer. They will say that they cannot convince you. But with this karma, the law of karma, reincarnation, so many things, you have answers to it. That's my take on that. Sorry, it's your...
I totally agree.
He is a Gargi.
Gargi
reincarnated. You are the we have a comment here. Read it. Gargi reincarnated, very apt. Our Dr. Gopi has messaged. Okay.
So, I agree with everything you just say. Why is some person born very tall and pretty and they've given every opportunity in life, and another person, they suffer so many tragedies in their life, or they're born with a severe disability. It doesn't make sense when you think of it through the Abrahamic framework. Because you're not given a level playing ground to kind of prove yourself to your God. So how can he compare apples and oranges? Whereas in Hindu Dharma, everyone is given the same opportunities to reach moksha, but it's done over multiple lives, based on what has happened in your previous lives. Yes, it's a beautiful framework. And I think, as you said, people from other faiths, they kind of just freeze when you ask them this question, because they are blind faiths. They're told not to think and question. So they've never thought these things themselves before, and they wouldn't even know where to begin to start thinking what the answer could be. So yeah, I completely agree. So then back to the next question, which was, you know, friends and family in my Western community, how are they responding to me? So within my like very close family, my immediate family, so at my parents, between my parents, there were a few questions, a few things I had to explain or correct because they had some false notions about India and Hinduism, just from, you know, what you read in the media here. In the media in the UK, there's never anything nice written about Hindus or India. It's a very sad fact.
You can say that again.
So they had some questions, and, you know, I've explained certain things to them, and they've been kind of satisfied with that. They've never, you know, interfered or done anything. So they kind of just left me on my own, really, to live my happy Hindu life. So that's immediate family. My paternal grandmother, she wasn't happy. So she's strongly Catholic, as in so strongly Catholic that when some of her children left Catholicism and became Protestants, you know, different dominations within Christianity, she then has nothing more to do with them. She doesn't talk to them anymore. Like, she's strongly Catholic. So obviously for me, becoming Hindu,
so they are divided. So they are divided.
Yes, they're already divided. Yeah,
we are united.
Yeah. So she wasn't happy. We can now speak a bit, but it's a bit tense between us, I guess, still. So yeah, my paternal grandmother was the only one that really let her feelings be known that she wasn't happy. So then within my friendship group, so I guess I've kind of just grown apart from most of my friendship group, particularly from the friends who are strongly Christian, because, you know, at university, a couple of my friends became very strong Christians, like to missionary level, because in the UK universities, the churches and the missionary organizations, they kind of target students, because students are there living on their own for the first time. They're maybe a bit scared, they're a bit lonely, they don't know anybody. And I experienced this actually in my first degree, at Imperial College, my physics degree, that I'm just sitting in the library studying, and then a missionary will come and sit next to you and strike up a conversation. And then the next thing you know, they've got the Bible out and they're trying to engage you and talk about the Bible. And, you know, I would just say, sorry, I'm not interested. Like, I literally just was wanting to focus on my physics. I really didn't care. But other people, maybe they would, you know, get sort of enticed in, or would just see it as, you know, an opportunity to make a friend. And so they then get sucked in, and they then become the missionary types. I've got a few school friends who have married, you know, actual missionaries now. And so this is before I, you know, became Hindu, even before I met my husband. I went to some of their weddings, and in the churches, you would see, you know, pictures of the globe, maps of the globe, where they're plotting out all their missionary expeditions. And looking back now, it really makes me feel sick to the stomach, you know, to be thinking about these things. You know, these people I'm working against. So I feel like I've become a bit estranged from many of my school friends. And then when it comes to the community at large, we've had some issues. So like some of the social groups we were in, my husband was in the Rotary group. I was in the Women's Institute group, because the only other group in the village is the church group, but I didn't want to join the church group, obviously. So the only alternative was the Women's Institute, which is mostly for elderly women, but never mind. So we were part of these social groups, just to make some friends in the village. And there we both experienced a few unpleasant things. So we both left. So things like when everyone would ask me about my Vedic Vivah Sanskar, they would make comments on my bindi. They'd make comments about, you know, walking around, doing the parikrama around Agni. And it's just really not nice. So we just end up leaving. So I find it can be quite isolating to be a Hindu in the UK, particularly one where you're not surrounded by many other Hindus, because there are areas, pockets in the UK where there are good, strong Hindu communities, but we're in the middle of nowhere in the countryside. There's no other people other than white Christians for quite a while away. So it can be quite isolating. But I'm so grateful that I have so many friends, so many supporters through the work I do for Hindu Dharma, through social media, through being in this group here, that I don't need any of that stuff. I just need you guys,
Yeah. And you see, you are a seeker. Hinduism only reaches those people who seek. We don't have to go shout about doing marketing. We don't have to sell the product, You are the seeker. That's why everything is coming to you, right?
Yes,
you just go and embrace the religion by itself, the way of life. You don't have to shout about it, We are not doing it. Yeah, that's why you are there.
And I find that Hinduism, it makes you very very resilient. Actually, you realize you only need yourself, really, and your own speaking and your own quest and the Shastras. That's actually all you need. Having my Patiji is a bonus, really,
Yeah, okay. It's so nice to hear you speak. You've got so much.
Jyoti Sprat Ram say Haribol.
Haribol, awesome.
Awesome.
Okay. There's more. I think a few of them have commented.
Okay.
All right. All right.
My next question will be, how this for me, it's a gift. Yeah, being a Hindu is a gift. Being able to practice this is even is a greater gift. How can we able to deliver this to our fellow human being? Yeah, our fellows who are missing this. What are some of the channels you think that we can use? Like you're doing now a great job. Your YouTube channel, that's awesome. Yeah, what other ways you think we should do or should use to reach out? Yeah, of course we don't do conversion, that's not our job. But how can we because this is beautiful. This is a joy. For me to share this is joy. I get goosebumps every time I talk about this. I can tear when I talk about this. Yeah, and how you think as a Westerner, what and being a scientist, how can we reach out to people and deliver this message?
So I think the first, very good question. The first step is actually for each of us to strengthen ourselves, to strengthen our Hindu faith, to strengthen our understanding of the Shastras, and particularly to understand where some of the misinterpretations, some of the lies about Hinduism, where have they come from? What are those motives out there driving this, so that we can be, tackling them? Because until we have the tools within ourselves to be talking proudly and strongly and truthfully about Hindu Dharma, it can be quite daunting, because there are so many false narratives out there that, you say something and then you'll often get, the opposite smashed back in your face because they've read it in the newspaper. So, things like the caste system, as Panditji spoke about last week, often in the West, you talk anything about Hinduism or India and that argument comes up. So we each need to have the tools to be countering these falsehoods, these lies, and be explaining what actually is the situation, that it's Varna that is important, and Varna is very beautiful, and it's completely different from caste, which is imposed by the West. So we each need to be educating ourselves. I'd say that's the first step. Then the next step is to be trying to influence those in our immediate surroundings, because the obvious is obviously children and grandchildren. We need to be nurturing them to become strong, dharmic Hindus. And I see all too often Hindu parents, they'll spend many hours with their children on their homework. In fact, I saw a statistic that I think it's only Buddhists who spend more time with their children on homework. The next is Hindus, and that's way above Christians and Muslims. They spend much less time helping their children with homework. But the thing is, Yes, homework is all well and good, and yes, it's important to raise our children to be, self-reliant, to go into careers where they can earn a living, and Ma Lakshmi, wealth, prosperity is important. Yes. But it shouldn't come at the expense of teaching our children about the Shastras, about Hindu Dharma, and to be proud Hindus. And sadly, I see far too few parents actually nurturing that Hindu tradition in their children. When I go to meetings with, or not meetings, when I go to celebrate festivals with people in the community, any group that's putting on a celebration of Navratri, for example, you'll see that the parents and the grandparents, they're sitting inside doing the arti, doing the puja, but the children are all outside running around just playing. I remember once I came out and the children, all they'd spent that whole 2 hours doing was messing around with the chappals and just causing noise. Whereas growing up, when we did go to church, which wasn't very often, but when we did go to church, you had to sit as a child, you had to sit and listen to the priest, quietly listen. And often they would put like a Sunday school on so that the children could be learning the same Christian section of the Bible that the adults were learning that day, but in a sort of child-friendly way with colouring in and everything, poems or whatever. So, children are very much, they grow up as knowing that they are Christian, that they have a good grounding in the basics about Christianity, which I find doesn't really happen with Hindu children. Their parents quite often just leave them to their own devices. I think they hope that they will just naturally absorb this Hindu Dharma, but it doesn't work like that. Children need to be nurtured. We had
that before, ma'am. We had Gurukulams those days. Gurukuls. Yes. We had Gurukuls where the child will be sent and he or she learns everything from the gurus there. So, I mean, gradually it just, I think, forgotten from the way.
I can say in a nutshell that that we all, the me, need to take the responsibility
yes.
to act as a Hindu,
yes.
and not say, do they know this? They should know this. They should have done this. They should have. What can I do as a Hindu? Like what Dr. Melissa rightfully said in the beginning, we are all in this together. How I, the Hindu, can practice Hinduism. Yes. Yeah, when I do the right things. Because you only can, I always say, you only can control what you can only control. You can control yourself. You cannot control what others do.
Yes.
We always worry what others are doing.
Yes.
Others are not doing.
Others are not doing. The fact is, we can do something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I tell this many people. I do a Sunday class on religion on early morning. Both of us do a class. We are not scholars. We are not expert, but we
are sharing the
knowledge. Sharing the knowledge, and a lot of people do not know basic. So the thing is, those of you viewers who are listening, do something, do anything.
Yes.
Instead of telling that they are not doing this, they are not doing this. Yeah, they are not doing this, but what can I do as a Hindu? That's my dharma.
Yes, absolutely.
And Dr. Melissa has been talking about this for, I think, don't know how many times you use this word, dharma. What is my dharma is whatever I know, go out there and share. And tell people what a glorious...
Pass the knowledge.
Yeah,
Vidya Dan. You pass the knowledge.
Yeah, I think the time has come for us to stop talking about what things have not been done and start doing what we can do.
Yes.
Yeah, every little contribution matters because we know the beauty of our Sanatana Dharma, and we are not doing any dharma by not sharing this.
Yes.
Yeah?
Well said. Well
That's
said.
my piece. Yeah?
Yes, well said.
That's my
piece.
And
not just every individual take responsibility, every Hindu organizations take charge, and as well as the temples.
Yes, temples.
Everyone who is a Hindu take charge of this. To make this, bring back the glory of Hindu Dharma, it's everybody's responsibility. What say you?
Yes, I agree. I say, like I said, I always say, what can I control? It's within me. What's within me, I will take charge. What's not within me, I can't do anything about it. But let's see what I can do. Every small action. In fact, now I wear, on Tuesdays, I wear Hindu clothes. Yeah, on Friday, today I went out, fully Hindu clothes. You know, no, you saw me with my baggy pants, with my, I do that. I show, this is what I, and my, you know, I am
Hindu
proud
symbols.
to be a Hindu. If you notice, this is a badge. I'm a proud Hindu.
Yes, proud Hindu.
Absolutely.
You know, this is within me. I can control this. What people don't do, I can't do anything about.
Yes.
But when they see, they start asking you questions and all, okay, come, let me share this with you, you know. So remember, folks, I mean, this is my humble thought. If you're not agreeable to this, I seek a sincere apologies. That for me is, let's do something.
Yes.
Yeah, like what we are doing. Yeah, today we are so thankful that Dr. Melissa,
yes, so much of knowledge
to come here
shared
and
her
share her experience,
her views,
to inspire people that, you know.
Amazing.
Yeah. So
Amazing.
thank you so much. This is a little, every little contribution matters.
Yeah. It was really good to have you. And actually, we want to talk to you more, but hope we'll have another cycle of these interviews again.
She is delivering her baby soon, and we would like to pray, wish you all the best.
All the Subha blessings and whatever the anugraha that you are going to get, and be blessed, and may Bhagwan be with you, and may Ma Shakti be with you.
Any closing address, closing statement, Dr. Melissa?
Yes, so I would say for me, when I ask myself, you know, why I became a Hindu, I would say that yes, it was the strength of conviction of strong, proud Hindus, the influence of people like my husband, people who know the Shastras and have helped me to realize the clarity of the Shastras. Particularly when it comes to dharma, righteousness, that we need to be doing proactively, we need to be fighting for dharma. For me, that has been the most attractive part of Hinduism. It's not been any idea of non-violence. It's not been any idea of you can believe in anything and say you're a Hindu and the world is one big family, because a lot of the world, they don't want to be in your family, to be truthful. You know, and actually when it comes to your Vasudev Kutumbakam, it's to do with, you know, that universal consciousness. It's a spiritual concept, and it incorporates the planet, incorporates animals as well as people. And people often, I find Hindus, they take it to the extreme, and they use it as an excuse almost for cowardice, for not doing karma yoga, for not doing things, for being shy, for being afraid to speak out and be proud to be a Hindu, because they think, oh, the whole world is one family. Why, you know, they almost feel like they need to strip themselves of their Hindu identity because they don't deserve to have their identity as a Hindu. And that's just not what it means at all. Vasudev Kutumbatum is to do with, you know, having that single consciousness that's pervading with animals and the planet and everything. So we need to look at all of these very popular narratives that are out there that are just truly false, and be looking at them critically and thinking, no, do the Shastras really teach us this? And in nearly all the cases, it will be no. We've forgotten what our Shastras tell us. They tell us to be strong Hindus, to be proud, to fight for dharma. And, you know, there have been so many benefits I've experienced, you know, strengthening my mental well-being. And that's then why I feel I have the courage to speak out and do my proactive duty, which I do particularly through English Behen Kadilse on social media. So we all need to be doing our bit. Yes. You know, I really try and do my bit. Yes. Everyone needs to try and do their bit.
Yes. It's our duty. Yes.
Yes. Before we say thanks to Dr. Melissa, we like to thank the viewers who have been with us. Strongly, we have them with us without dropping the viewership. Yes. Awesome. But before you leave, I like you to say something in the comment box. Like it, share with your fellow Hindu friends. Yes. Remember, every Saturday, we are doing it is for you. Not for us alone, this is for you, for all Hindus. Yeah, so please share, please like, and tell the whole world that the why of Hinduism here is one way of spreading our beautiful Sanatana Dharma to our fellow Hindus, so the Hindus will
become Hindus.
Hindus, yeah. Hindus will become Hindus. Yeah, thank you so much, viewers.
And
Dr. Melissa, I'll leave it the last to her because she always want the Shakti power. So Shiva will say, thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much. And yeah, all right.
I've already said, but anyway, I will say again.
Okay.
Thank you so much. It's real pleasure, honor to have shared so much knowledge. And we'll see you in the next round.
Yeah.
And all the best to you. Jai Shakti, Jai Bhavani.
Jai Shakti.
Jai Shri Ram.